Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Usually you guys absolutely love when I do the crazy stories about women doing ridiculous things. And I try to keep those cranking out so you guys can see all the ridiculous stuff I come across. But every once in a while, I also try to put out a video that might actually be helpful for you crazy men out there that still want to date and still want to get married, or maybe are married or are in a relationship. So this one is, the wording on this one I found is what's surprising. But a woman wants to know, how can I make him pay for my debt? And she's talking about her husband. You know, something that you guys need to realize is I think this has always been the case, but it's becoming more and more apparent. You know, it used to be at one point in time, you'd say, well, yeah, I'm going to get married. I know I kind of have to take her debt, and I know I'm going to have to help her out, but that's part of my job as a husband. Well, now women are pretty much going out, having their fun with the good-looking guys and maybe even having a couple of kids with them, and then they come back around and they say, I've had a change of heart. It's time to settle down. It's time to get serious. It's time to have a family, which they already have the family many times. Now they're like, it's time to find a guy that will help me pay for my family. And this is a case where a woman has written into Market Watch, and this isn't some odd, off the site or out of the way website. Market Watch is by MSN.com, and it talks about finance. And a woman just wrote in basically saying, hey, how can I get my husband to pay for me? I don't work. I don't do anything. How do I get my golden meal ticket to pay for the rest of my stuff? So I'm going to talk about this for a minute. And I actually have some good news for you crazy men that do want to get married or have gotten married. And she wants you to pay some of her bills. So they say here, my husband refuses to pay my student loans. His reason? I took out the loans before we were together. Is there some loophole to get him to pay? So the key word here is loophole. And obviously getting him to pay. But this is the frightening thing, okay? So again, this is from Microsoft, from MSN. But down here, they allow reactions to this. And if I hover over the reactions, there's 449 thumbs up, meaning I agree. Please tell me about this. I am interested to know how I can get my husband's money. 88 people gave it a heart, which means they love it. So that's around, 540 people, 530 people. 46 have the, let me think about this a little bit. But there's only 215 that put the frowny face on here, which means twice as many people reading this, i.e. probably women. It's probably the 215 that were the men that are like, no, I don't like this. Twice as many people said, yeah, I'd like to learn more about this. How can I make my husband pay, or how can I get around some loopholes? So they say, question, I am married but unemployed. Oh, that's a complete shock. Who would have ever seen that coming?
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
My husband refuses to pay my student loans, which I had before we were dating. So she had these debts before she had even met him. Do I have access to the money? Yes. But, I guess that's a question she's asking herself. Do I have access to the money? Yes. But if I were to touch it, it could cause a divorce because he feels that it's not his responsibility, as we were not together at the time I acquired the student loans. Is there any way to get out of it? Or is there some type of loophole? I haven't worked in years, and I don't even know how I would repay these back on my own. Now, let's say that she's staying at home and she's a dedicated mom and she's being a real good mom to the kids, and he's the only one working. I could see a case where she could say, hey, look, I'm a full-time mom now. I'm taking care of these kids. You're the one bringing in the money. If you want me to raise the kids without working, I need some help with this. I think that's completely fair. She doesn't mention any of that. And the word loophole and make him pay, those kind of strike me as a little interesting. But if there isn't kids involved and she's just not working, well, she's just looking at him as a bailout. And we know this is happening a lot, especially with single moms that are getting back into the dating market. I mean, you've seen the profiles I've done, the dating profiles, where the women are 19, 20, 21, 22. They got 2 kids, and now it's time to settle down. You must have a job. You must be stable, and no more fun, like looking to get married. Well, if that doesn't scream bailout, I don't know what does. Anyway, they say the short answer, at least in your case, is this. In general, since you took out the loans before you were married, there's no loophole and your husband isn't legally responsible for your debt, says Leslie H. Tain, financial attorney and founder of the Tain Law Group. Even if a couple is married when one spouse takes out a student loan, the debt may still belong to the person who took it out. However, a spouse would be responsible in situations like if they co-signed for the student loan or if the loan was taken out after the marriage and the couple lives in a community property state such as Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, or Wisconsin. So if you don't live in one of those states, maybe the laws are, even if she takes out a loan and you're married, you may not have to pay for it. And they specifically said a student loan. It may be the same on credit card debt. So, I mean, you have to look into it. But there may be some outs here if you are married or do want to get married someday. You may not have to take her debts. And a lot of times on channels like this, when we talk about, she's got all this debt, and if you get married, you're going to have to take care of it. That may not be the case, at least legally wise. Now, the challenge is if she trashes her credit by not paying her loans and her bills and things, and you get married, well, if you want to buy a home or other things like that, she's going to be on that property. So the loan has to be joint, and that means that her credit score will pull yours way down if she hasn't been paying her debt. And same thing if the guy doesn't pay it. But that also means you may be paying a higher interest rate on the house and other things. He said, that said, if you refinanced and put both your names on the loan, your husband then becomes legally responsible for the debt. And something else to note, at some point, Tain says being delinquent on federal loans can mean the government confiscating joint tax return money. This could impact you if you file taxes jointly as a married couple. They can also garnish your Social Security if the loan goes into default. Now, what I don't know is does that mean they can also take joint property? Maybe the federal government can do some pretty crazy things. And over the last year of this past administration, they're trying to change the IRS laws so that they can come after you for even more. They say for anyone in a similar situation, but with private loans, Tain says you could get sued by the servicer for not paying. If you're default on a private loan, seek out a student loan attorney. That way you may be able to avoid judgment against any property you own. And if a husband and wife own property together, you can try to avoid having a lien put on it. So again, there may be penalties that come your way. And then they go into how you can pay off your student loans and other things. And I found this other page I wanted to talk about quickly. Does marriage make you responsible for your partner's debt? And it says tying the knot doesn't necessarily mean entangling your debts. Now, again, I'm not giving you guys legal advice out there, but I am letting you know that that it may, depending on the country you live in, depending on the laws, even here in the United States, that you may actually be okay. There may be a way out of this. So for those of you that are getting divorced, for those of you that are thinking about getting married or anything else, make sure you look into the laws. Just don't assume because her or her attorneys say one thing that means you're going to be legally responsible. And then I'm going to talk more about the men becoming the providers. I just have another paragraph to read here. They say, for many couples, getting married means merging different aspects of individual financial lives. Some couples, for instance, may choose to share checking and savings account or create a household budget. If I marry someone with debt, does it become mine? They say when one or both partners have debt coming into the marriage, the debt belongs solely to the person who incurred them. Say, for example, you have $15,000 in private student loans in your name. Your spouse to be has $10,000 in credit card to their name. Neither one of you would be responsible for the other person's debt in this scenario. So they talk about, well, if you co-sign on something, in other words, if you're both signing on the agreement and the main signer defaults, then yes, they will go after the co-signer, and the co-signer is legally responsible. So that's something to keep in mind. But the reason why this is becoming more and more important is because, again, you guys see the dating profiles that I read. If you go on Reddit, you will see many, many different threads in our divorce and some of the other, well, even dating sites. And one of the other videos I'm doing today is about a woman that says he must make $100,000. He must do this. He must, love my kids as if they're his own. And he must not have kids. And when you start looking down through all the kind of listing that women are looking for, the demands women are looking for, you start realizing that as a man, we want to be loved, we want to be desired for us. For if somebody says, "Oh, I love you," I want them to think of me as me, not I love what you provide, and I love that you're going to take care of some other dude's kids as your own, and I love that I'm going to be able to use you for your success and your money. And then when I leave, I'm going to get a golden parachute and take half your stuff during a divorce. More men are seeing this over and over again, and they're starting to say, something, this dating deal isn't working out so well. And I would rather be the guy that she desires and wants to just have some fun with. I'd rather be that guy than the guy that she says, "Oh, you're important, and I want you to be father to my kids and be a provider, and I want to live with you and happily ever after." The happily ever after men are starting to feel like they're second rate, that they're a bailout, that they're just saving the day. And I think more and more men are noticing that. So guys, remember, if you feel at any point in time that you're becoming that guy, you better really question whether you want to allow her to tie her anchor to your boat and hold you down and take your finances back. Because if you don't, you may be in for a rough road. All right, for those of you on Locals and Rumble, we'll do a dating profile of the day. And for those of you on YouTube, make sure to join me over on another site, because I can't do the dating profiles any day. I can't do the dating profiles of the day anymore here because Big Mommy YouTube gets angry at me. All right, so dating profile of the day.